Jakarta, Indonesia stocks are poised to gain, in fact, the most in over 15 years, as according to a manager at the nation's best-performing fund, Penning Securities. Now, what could be the drivers? Well, let's talk to our stocks reporter, Bernie Mustafa from our Jakarta Bureau. And Bernie, obviously early on this year, those election results boosting stocks, but what else can stocks gain on for the rest of this year?
Well, the main attraction is still the Indonesian economy. Domestic consumption accounts for about 2/3 of the economy, and that allows the Indonesian economy to be relatively resilient against the global recession. So companies here can expect relatively better earnings than elsewhere, where shrinking exports are hurting companies' earnings. Whereas in Indonesia, with 2/3 of the economy relying on consumption, we can still expect companies to see some profit growth this year. Susan?
What about risks? I mean, what risks are there that could derail this rally? There are some concerns in terms of government spending, Bernie.
Yeah, oil is one of those risks that people have been talking about. If oil continues to rise, and if that translates into higher energy costs, because Indonesia imports about 1/3 of its oil needs, and if that were to increase or accelerate inflation, that may in turn hurt consumption and may prompt the central bank to increase lending rates again. Susan?
Yeah, well, in terms of sectors and stocks, I mean, a lot of investors that I've been talking to in the past, in terms of looking at the Indonesian markets, have been expecting maybe more infrastructure spending, so that's why they're going into this particular sector. But what other stocks look attractive?
Astra International is one of the biggest gainers in the market. Actually provided the biggest boost to the Composite Index this year. And one of the reasons is that the company is fairly diversified in terms of its earnings. It is on one side exposed to domestic consumption through its automotive business, and on the other hand, it's also exposed to any recovery in the global economy because of its coal and palm oil export, its palm oil units. So that's one of the stocks that people are looking at. The other stock would be Bank Mandiri. It's one of Indonesia's biggest banks, actually the biggest bank in terms of assets. And that stock may rise on expectation lending rates will increase investment.
Okay, well, Bernie, one more question for you. Let's talk about the, I guess, the popularity of the president, SBY, Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono, for the rest of his presidency. But what are investors expecting from him?
Well, one thing that people are hoping for is continuity. Investors like what SBY has done so far in the past 5 years. The economy has expanded like above 6% in the past 2 years. That's the fastest since the Asian financial crisis in 1997. But going forward, people are expecting more on the infrastructure side, as that is one area that SBY has been lacking. And with increased infrastructure spending, we can expect increased economic growth and also curb inflation. Susan?
Yeah, he's probably the only president with a higher approval rating than Barack Obama in the U.S. Thank you for that. Bernie Mustafa, our stocks reporter in Indonesia.